Welcome to those of you who are just joining. I'm pinging some folks into the room here, making sure everybody knows that we are getting ready to start. Some very interesting things in the news this week. I'll start by saying this room is supported by Infiom, which is dedicated to supporting the adoption and growth of the global blockchain via AI, VR, and disruptive technology, while providing access to capital and resources for these untapped communities. So that is us, folks. I'm so excited to have you here today. My name is Jeanette DePatty, and I am a professional tech explainer. And I've been writing about the blockchain for about 7 years, so I guess I am been at this a while. I'm pretty early on, but started as a huge NFT skeptic and have now become a huge NFT supporter over time as I learned more. So I came at this the same way that many of you have, and I'm very excited to be here.
Hey, Jeanette, thanks for sharing your story. Like you, I entered the space, learning more than knowing a lot about a year ago, and I was a big believer in the potential of NFTs because I come from video games and the digital space. But that learning experience and working with people like Chris and folks like you on ClubHouse, just launched my own NFT company this week. Actually, today's the very first day. We're in the wild, and basically we help creators protect their rights and make sure they can also activate their communities better, so everyone knows how what they're getting and what they're not in NFT.
It's so great to have you here, and it's interesting that you're talking about gaming because in our newsletter this week, there was a very interesting article from Paul Tassi about the best use for gaming NFTs is one that a lot of the big companies like Ubisoft will not discuss. And I would love to hear from our gamers what they think about this. And his comment basically is, sure, game companies are interested in issuing NFTs for items that you can buy and use in the games. What they've not been so interested in is creating games as NFT themselves that can be sold. Because in the old days, when some of us dinosaurs used to use plastic cartridges to play games, when you were done with the game, you would take it to GameStop and you would sell it to help pay for your next game. But even though digital games cost just as much as the ones that had a physical component, they are so far not resellable. And I would love to hear some comments from our folks about what you think about that. Do you think that's the future? Do you think we're just SOL? Do you think these gaming companies are really interested in community or just flapping their gums? I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I'll just share my personal thoughts. I mean, history has shown us that regardless of industry, people who built up very highly profitable organizations where they own all the profit, moving from that to something more community oriented is going to be hard, and it's much more likely, insurgents and people like people who are in the audience today are the ones that are going to build that, have the success, and then start to get snapped up by the big companies again. So I worked for one of the very biggest gaming publishers who just got doubly big this week because they got acquired, Activision Blizzard. And most of the people I know and great talent have gone on to new places and places that are doing blockchain gaming, like Mythical Games, Astromocha. There's a lot of other players out there. So I think it's very hard for them to cut the cord on these cash cow properties and play to earn and getting rewarded for gaming. That's here to stay for the long term. Axie Infinity, everyone knows, and it takes some criticism for good reasons because it doesn't look like that great of a game experience, and there are some aspects to it, relying on new people coming in and buying into that to continue moving forward. But why, if you were a gamer, if you're going to put in that kind of hours and that kind of sweat, why would you ever go back to not getting rewarded and co-owning some of that literal sweat equity? So the model's here to stay. You're going to see companies you never heard of become billion-dollar companies in a year, and it's an exciting time. So I think a lot of the old companies will be left behind, or just buy some of these upstart companies, and they're not really companies anymore, right? If they should be co-owned kind of Web3 gaming projects, right, where you as the player is much an investor and a member of the organization than a traditional company too. So it's going to be fun to watch. I can't pretend to know who's going to win and who's going to lose, but we're not going back.
Is it your sense that these new companies are that the old guard companies are kind of at a disadvantage in this new space?
Yeah, for go ahead. You can. Sorry, go ahead.
Go for it, good guy.
I was going to say, yeah, definitely. So first, my prime example would be something that's very easy to explain. Would be a game Blizzard has, which is Hearthstone. Hearthstone is a great card game that you play on a digital level, but when you purchase those cards, they're digitally owned by Blizzard Entertainment or whoever you want to call it owns them now. But ultimately, it's essentially owned to them. So if you quit or you get banned or they something happens where you protest in Hong Kong and they ban your account, all of that digital owned goods is gone out the window. Whereas a solution to that is it being put on blockchains like Splinterlands that's been doing this for about 5+ years, and it's a similar concept, but the cards are actually owned as NFTs, and those cards are exactly like you have exactly the same functions as Hearthstones. You go to the website, it recognizes you have the cards in your wallet, and then you can battle and do that. But it's the true ownership of those cards that when you're purchasing it through Blizzard, you're not having it through them anymore. You have it in your actual wallet. So for me, as a gamer, why would I go back to the other one where I have that risk? Especially in the last 2 years, they've shown what they do. Obviously, if you protest or whatever the case is, and that's just one problem. But it's proof of time. If I could go back in time and have a little piece of a lot of things I've done from Diablo, from World of Warcraft, from all of these games, if I could have a piece of that time and in my wallet, it would be that's just one utility of it. But we're talking more complex where like Zed Run and where the actual NFT is a piece when you go to play, it's a piece of that game. So there's tons of use cases, but ultimately I don't see us going back. The way that game developers or these monopolies are, we just have to be careful on allowing them to do the loot box type craze where they're just going crazy for the money and they're not actually using a technology for the right way. That's what we have to be careful of because the loot box craze was a very bad gambling thing that happened, and it's hopefully going away. But that's just one point of what happens when they figure out how to make money on something. This is
Thank you, good guy crypto. It leads me to another question, which is the notion of utility and NFTs, and whether NFTs are going to remain really about collectibles, or if they're really going to come to represent something bigger, something else. And I'd love to hear your thoughts, panel, about that.
Um, hey Jenna, hey everyone.
Hey,
I
Frank,
want to say,
welcome.
hey, no problem. Especially with NFTs, the way I see it is because I'm into sports and gaming and all of that stuff. I really can see uh people finding an incentive for an NFT. So you got whatever it is that is an NFT, whether it's artwork, whether it's music, whatever it is, giving you access to something. So, for example, in gaming, is what I think is gonna happen. A big franchise like Grand Theft Auto or any of these kind of open worlds on consoles um, will basically use the NFT format so that you buy this NFT in game. It's going to give you access to specific skins, going to give you access to a real world event. It's going to give you access to maybe a competition. It's going to give you access to uh, uh, um, gonna whitelist you for another NFT. It's gonna give you, it's like a key. I reckon that these NFTs are gonna be more like keys for different things, uh, bridging the gap from actual gaming to real life, and then from real life to whatever event. So like from the metaverse to real life, and from the real life to the digital world. I think it's going to bridge the gap between the real world and the digital world.
Great. And Chris, were you at a conference last week? Can you tell us anything really exciting that you saw there?
Yeah, I saw things that make stuff like portals and all these little environment meta spaces, like metaverse spaces, look like dog shit. It's like directly from your phone, and it's a free app that allows you to basically create a portals and
Oh,
use
how
like
cool.
3D avatars. Dude, it's cooler than that. You can like put 3D avatars in your living room, and you can link playlists from like Spotify to the 3D avatar that has spatial audio. Or you could build an MP4 into an NFT using Arweave to link the metadata, and you could watch it on your wall. Like, it's insane. It's insane. And that I saw that, and then I got some alpha on the way that they're going to make even more secure metadata standards and body even harder for Solana. So like everything that I do now is Solana. Even last night for Open Galaxy, which I love Annette, and I love Open Galaxy, and I fully support it. But I was, I give Matic a lot of credit for its cost and its speed. But when I was making those videos last night for Annette, it was it sucks. Like, even though Matic is technically faster, the fact that you have to do so much with ETH to get to Matic and how hard it is to onboard people, we either A, need to do something about ETH prices, or we need to teach people about Sol, because Matic was incredibly inconvenient, and it's much slower and more expensive than Solana. And I thought it was as fast and as cheap. They're not even close. So what I learned at Hacker House is all the promises that I heard within 2 weeks, they already are coming true. And that tells me that the active development on this ecosystem is rampant. And so I recommend everyone, if you can go to ETH Denver, even though it's ETH, you still should go. If you can go to the Solana Hacker Houses, if you can go to any Bitcoin conferences, I do think that people don't understand the true value. It's not just that you're learning about stuff in real life, but there are networking opportunities for you to have conversations with people whose information doesn't have a lot of exposure, so you can learn alpha and find out about the future of the chain before Twitter. And that allows you to create a business model or a roadmap around what's coming,
Or you want some
not
alpha?
what is already here.
You want some Matic alpha? A good way to get Matic Polygon is through Hotbit.
Yeah, that's fine. But then persons have to trust Hotbit with their information, which is okay, but it's not like it's the most reputable exchange. And then you have to teach people about sending crypto to Hotbit and swapping it, because you definitely don't want to be putting your debit and credit card on Hotbit. If you have done that, I wouldn't suggest it. And I also wouldn't suggest giving Hotbit your KYC. I wouldn't suggest it with Gate.io or Bitmart or any of those. So a lot of people's on ramp is going to be like Coinbase, Gemini, or Kraken. And Kraken's great. They'll let you buy with Apple Pay from your phone, withdraw it immediately. And so I thought that would be a really great answer. But what I learned very quickly is that most of these exchanges don't, and maybe Bitmart does, or Hotbit does, or Binance does, but I'm saying that Coinbase, Gemini, and Kraken, they didn't give me an option to withdraw the Matic to the Matic network. They only gave me the option to withdraw the Matic to ETH. So then you have to use the bridge, which is okay. That's totally fine. But with Solana, you have to download Phantom Wallet and buy Solana. So it's just as easy as ETH, but substantially faster and cheaper, and even faster and cheaper than Matic. So going through the hassle of Matic has no advantage over Solana. And that's the point. And I wasn't even 100% sure about that till last night. I was just like speculating based on the metrics. But now, through personal experience and literally 4 hours of trying to condense the information into 20 minutes, I was able to do it. I was able to teach someone who knows nothing how to get ETH, how to get Matic, how to bridge, what's the difference if you bridge ETH to Matic versus Matic to Matic, how to swap Matic for wrapped ETH. I did it all. I was able to get it down to 18 minutes. And then I was able to do another video for people who are very experienced and understand the bridge and have used ETH before in MetaMask. I was able to show them how to do Matic in about 5 minutes and 6 seconds. I can take a person who's never used a crypto wallet and teach them about Solana, Phantom, and how to mint in under 3 minutes, and I have a video proving that. So at the end of the day, from a retail space, I believe, and this goes back to the Hacker House thing, I do believe in all of those people. And if I hadn't met all of those people last week and been able to experience the vibe that was there, then I wouldn't be as motivated as I am. So I don't care if you like Solana, I don't care if you like ETH, I don't care if you only like Bitcoin. If you have a chance to go to these conferences and network with people in real life, it's dude, it's one of the best decisions I ever made, right? And now I'm trying to plan out the rest of my year to make sure I can go to all of them. I even just got invited VIP to ETH Denver because my friend Irvin is having a Polkadot event there under ClubHouse. So they are starting to, I think the ETH community is starting to understand that the network is fantastic for it's a great financial tool, it's a great store of value. But from a utility standpoint, I feel like people are starting to look for answers. Good Guy Crypto does an awesome job using ETH and Matic and voxels with education and time to guide and onboard and show people experiences that are very affordable. That's why I invite him on stage, because he does what I do, but in a polar opposite way, right? He does it on different, he does it in different ways. I should say it's not polar opposite.
Yeah,
He does
well,
it in different ways.
yeah, because I did Soul in 2019, 20, 21. Soul's not new to me. I have Phantom, I have Soul Flare, I have every math wallet, I have everything to access my Soul network. But for me, I always gravitate towards Ethereum because that's where the buyers and volume is. So if you look at the volume per doing analytics and those others, the volume is where it is. So if a new artist comes to me, I say, well, start up on Polygon or start up on Soul, get the funds, and then launch on ETH because that's where a lot of buyers are. Eventually, if that volume kicks over there and they get that huge OpenSea volume, then by all means, I would encourage everybody to start over there. But for artists, I always say start where the volume is. And if ETH is too expensive, start on Matic, and then understand roadmaps, not just ETH 2.0 roadmap, but understand Polygon. Understand that they're going to be adding ZK rollups, and the batch transactions is going to make them much bigger force to be reckoned with in comparison. I haven't been tracking the roadmap on it, but it's a big deal when it comes to a technology that Ethereum down the road hypothetically is going to be adding down the road. But it's really important with how much volume you have, where batch transactions would have fixed the Sol problem, where when they went to all of those transactions went to go hit at the one moment, they would have been batched up together and not crashed the network. That type of technology is really important, and you're going to see these new networks utilize that new
Well, they've
technology,
already
which is really
upgraded that
important.
to Good Guy Crypto. That's what they did that weekend of Hacker House. They upgraded all the nodes so that the validators can't be hit like that again. And then CMV2 prevents botting because it randomizes the generation of the output for the candy machines. And the reason why botting was so prevalent is because they found a way to look at the metadata on Arweave, and they were trying to snipe rarities and shit like that. So basically, all that kind of stuff that happened at first, it's been taken care of because no one thought 400,000 transactions per second were going to hit that network. I mean, if you look at the TPS of ETH, it is 14 transactions per second. No one thought Solana was going to get hit with 400,000 transactions per second. But the fact that the network still was operating at 350,000 transactions is insane. So now that they've done it's basically not even batch transactions because they already do batch transactions through proof of history. That's why it's so much faster and cheaper. But essentially now validator nodes can't accept more than 50,000 TPS. So when the network slows down for a second, It's because there's so many transactions per second that the validator nodes are only processing 50,000 at a time, and that protects us. Now, the validator nodes are growing, which means it can go even faster, right? More people to do more 50,000 TPSs. And to build a node that can handle 50,000 TPS costs about $2,500. And then the fact that you don't have to bridge, you don't have to swap, you don't have to pay any gas fees that are on Ethereum. I think it's much easier. And then if you take volume, and this isn't supposed to be an open forum, but I just have to rebuttal some of those statements because they're maybe old data. If we take the volume of OpenSea and we remove the gas fee volume, the difference between OpenSea and Magic Eden is very small. And Magic Eden has almost 2 times the daily transactions of NFTs as OpenSea. And then in March, Phantom coming to OpenSea and being used as a secondary market is going to give everybody on OpenSea the opportunity to no longer have to use that layer 2 solution. So like, this is what I mean by future. I've known that Phantom was going to be on OpenSea this year for more than a month, but I didn't know it was going to be as soon as March until like 2 weeks ago, like everybody else. So knowing what's coming makes it easier to build toward the future. If you're working with what you have right now and past experiences, then anything that you develop around that for a long-term goal, well, it's going to have to change. But that's why I like you so much, because you're just smart opportunist. So wherever the opportunity presents itself and whatever is the most smartest like thing for you to use at the time for utility is what you're going to do. And that's my favorite thing about you, because I know that right now, you do what you do.
Yeah, that and my rebuttal was explaining that I have the first Soul NFT ever minted. I've been
Yeah, but
doing
that
Soul since
blockchain
dawn
has
of time.
gone, dude, and Candy
Yeah,
Machines and Metaplex Foundation, all the revamps, like the way that it's changed, even just in the last 6 months, is phenomenal. I
yeah.
mean,
I'm not
it's night and day
against
difference.
it. I'm not against it. I was just saying when you were saying
So,
I use, but I have a lot of Soul and history on Soul.
But
That
for
was all.
DeFi and DAOs, I wouldn't choose Sol, right? So, like, here's the thing: for DeFi and DAOs, I actually like Ether Avalanche, and I like Matic. Like, I do like those ecosystems for financial tool sets, and I think that people misunderstand whenever I talk about something like Solana. Man, for me, it's just about the utility in the NFTs. If I'm choosing DAO infrastructure, if I'm choosing liquidity or a store of value asset, even though I do believe my Solana goes up substantially in value over time, I don't believe it ever flips ETH, right? I believe that ETH always trails Bitcoin, and the upgrades to the network are just going to keep it in second place and make it the best financial tool, or even possibly the future of the financial infrastructure could start on ETH. And like with EVM compatibility and bridges, man, it's not impossible to incorporate other chains, or like Polkadot, for instance. So I think people misunderstand me when I talk about ETH. I do think it's still the king of the altcoins. I just think for NFTs and utility, Matic and ETH don't hold a candle to what I've been able to do on Solana. And then last night, my experience with the launch of a fantastic project, and Matic's not expensive. It was manageable, but like, it was still horrible experience compared to what I go through daily on Solana. And when I thought about it onboarding, or like I think about the Super Bowl, right? And how FTX has that commercial for the Super Bowl. And I'm curious what that's really even going to talk about, because if there's Bored Apes and Mutant Apes everywhere, that's going to be really good for OpenSea. But if Sam Bankman Fried happens to bring up Solana in any instance, or talk about their NFTs in any way, well, then that's going to introduce the quote unquote option, right, to newcomers. And so I think we're about to enter a very interesting thing here, where OpenSea is obviously going to be the winner because they're going to take that secondary market from Solana. But I do believe that when you see, well, I already know this. This isn't a belief. I know this for a fact. When you see Solana added to OpenSea, you'll all get what I mean when I say that if you compare the staked liquidity, the NFT volume, the NFT transactions, the throughput, or the smart contract capabilities, Matic does not hold a candle to Solana. And that will be proven, I think, in March. And it's not opinion, it's through experience.
But
Chris,
then
did you
you
have
what you
something? Go ahead, Chris.
yeah. So Yeah. Just to add into that, so I was approached by someone in the music industry because they're looking for a system that allows very easily for someone to use a credit card to purchase something through their application that creates an NFT to a music concert, which is really where a lot of the musicians are going into. And with Ethereum, you can't do that very easily without high gas fees, and that's the on ramp to people getting into the NFT space, which is why I agree 100% with Solana going to be a contender for NFT and not for DAO, just because the language itself isn't really primed for DAO operations and complex uh, functions that would govern an entire DAO just yet. Which they're still kind of early in that process. Ethereum has had quite some time to be able to deliver upgrades and updates to the overall functions and the library that is the Solidity language. So for sure they're going to have more opportunity, and more developers have been working on it for a longer amount of time. But as you saw after their hackathon that occurred in Solana last year, what did you see come out of that hackathon? A lot of good projects, a lot of good frameworks to be used to build on top of on what was already there for the Metaplex Foundation, and then we see a ton of other DApps that are coming out in the Solana space. So it's an interesting time for sure.
I thought it was so interesting. I saw that Kanye came out and said, "Don't ask me to make an effing NFT." And then he said, "I want to do real things." Blah 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 blah. And then he puts on the bottom, "Ask me later." And what this this kind of brought up two questions in my mind, which is one, what is the difference for between a very established artist creating an NFT or creating this kind of product versus an emerging artist? Do they take really different paths, in your opinion, to get to that space?
An emerging artist, yeah, they're going to take a different path because they don't have you would say the startup kind of cash to get in front of good developers, because a good developer is going to charge exactly what they're worth because they know their value. Like someone approaches me and says, "Build this for me." I'm going to say, "If you want me to build that for you, here's how much it's going to cost you. If you want me to take time out of my day, here's what it is. Here's what my time is worth to me. I could be working on other things." And so it's based on that, those other projects that have more eyes, more people, that have the influence of 6.5 million to 10 million people on their Instagram, on their Twitter. It's easier for them to just throw up a stinking tweet that says this, that, and the other, and have 500,000 people in their Discord ready to mint and saying "Win Lambo, sir." I mean, those are the differences. Whereas a little artist who has done a few shows across the world. Like there was this one project that was recent. It's called Little Heroes. It has an artist who's Edgar Plans, who is known worldwide, right? But he wasn't exactly the biggest name in art. I'd never heard of the guy, which I don't even follow art. It really doesn't matter to me. But this guy, his NFT project was put on by a bunch of amateurs. They launched a smart contract on Ethereum, and what happened is it was an exploit that allowed somebody to be able to mint more from the whitelist, so that they kind of pulled away some of the supply and stopped people from being able to mint that were on that whitelist by design. Who knows? I won't comment or speculate based on that. But for all intents and purposes, they sold out, and it was a quick flip for people on NFTs for some stupid JPEG, right? Fawning over something that didn't really have utility. But their entrance to this industry was from a cut rate group of people who were orchestrating the implementation. So the difference in implementations of a project is going to be what you're seeing from an emerging artist who doesn't have a whole bunch of startup cash and really doesn't have a huge base of people to get hyped up about an NFT, because not a lot of people in the world really understand 100% what an NFT is still, right? It's hard for us to wrap our brain around it, but like we're part of that in phase that just dove into this head first, and we know about it. And to us, when someone's like, "I don't know what an NFT is," I look at them like, "Where you been, bro? Like, haven't you seen all the articles? 5 billion in OpenSea in January alone in volume on Ethereum. Like, what? You still don't know about this?
Yeah,
But
we still
that
have quite a bit of that. It's a little bit like that internet thing. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. We're still sort of in that space, I think, for some folks. Kyler, you've been patient. Did you have a question or a comment you wanted to make?
Just listening, enjoying the conversation. I guess
Okay.
the specific to the Solana discussion, I'm not in particular a maxi on any chain. I sort of view it as a little bit like being a web developer and choosing whether you want to use a Postgres database or a SQL Server database or an Oracle database, and some may be faster, some may be slower. It's a little bit different than that because there's like shared global resources and shared global contracts that you could reach for. But I respect King's perspective on whatever he's able to be the most productive with. By all means, use that. Although I am curious of someone who calls himself a Solana maxi. What are your thoughts? Like the two detriments that I hear of Solana are that it's less centralized and that a lot of the initial tokens went to VC. So do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah,
Does that
so
matter to
the
you?
the first tokens that they accused wound up being a false report, and the second most that we know for sure was that Sam Bankman-Fried personally bought 10% of the supply of OTC for $4 each. We've seen a receipt of the transaction. So he owns 10% of the supply. Now, if it was anybody other than Sam Bankman-Fried, it would worry me, but clearly I can see very clearly what he's doing, as if it's a map in front of my fucking face. He found a way to avoid being accused of having a security while also getting a token that could compete with BSC. So, as the United States government continues to squeeze CZ, this is FTX's opportunity. And you've seen it go up to right behind BNB on the charts, right? So it's like, oh, clear as day. Instead of making a blockchain and dealing with all the shit that CZ is dealing with, he already has the FTT token, which is a platform utility token that gives you fee reduction or commissions or take your fees or whatever it does. I have no idea what the FTT token does. I would never buy it. But he could have made a blockchain and done what Binance did. Instead, he saw the tech of Solana, and he is the smartest person in the space. He saw the tech of Solana and he thought, holy shit, if I become the composite operator and I control the free float, which is 10%, then I can ensure that no one can really dump the supply, which means he can protect the price of the token while also using it as his own utility token for FTX and convert all of his doings onto Solana. And now he can face and compete with BNB without having to build his own infrastructure or ever get taken to court for creating a security. So he's so smart, man. And so when I saw that, I thought, okay, I should learn more. I started investing in Solana at $28. Good Guy Biker is right. If you look at the 6 months ago projects that we first made, I actually just remade them with the new metadata, the new candy machine, all the new tools, everything that we have. I just remade the Fox and Kings. I'm going to airdrop them to everyone who owns a Fox and a King. And I'm going to, from there, I'm going to create a new candy machine for all the people who want the Foxes and Kings, because that's totally unrelated to our game. And like a lot of people ask for them. But because Solana's come such a far way, I decided I wanted to revamp those collections. And because Solana is so fast and so affordable, I was able to do it in 24 hours. So the thing is, it's a superior utility blockchain from start to finish, and centralization typically means that something can be compromised. But here's the thing, the way that Solana transfers on the network from one wallet to another, it gets wrapped in between the transaction, nullifying its utility until it's received. This also facilitates in the instantaneous transactions that take seconds, not even like 2 seconds, right, to transfer any amount of money from one Solana wallet to another with record on the blockchain. How? Well, they wrap the Solana and transport it and use timestamps through proof of history to add the confirmations after you unwrap that soul in your wallet. It all happens atomically on chain. You don't have to do shit. It costs you nothing. So if someone had 51% of the supply and somehow wanted to execute an attack against the network, they wouldn't be able to, because the moment that they try to use the utility of that token to go from their original address anywhere else on the network, it gets wrapped by a system program and transported and then unwrapped and delivered. So it has no control on the network. So then how could you compromise Solana? Well, you can't compromise Solana token, but you could fuck other people over who are validators. If somehow you could control 30, and that's right now, when there's more validator nodes, this number would be higher. But if you could somehow control 35% of all the Solana, then you would have enough inside of your staking liquidity pool to basically validate all the current transactions that happen, which is, even though it can do 50,000 TPS, due to the limited number of users, it only runs about 3 or 4,000 per second, again, compared to ETH 14. So 3,000 TPS is its average daily TPS with the network activity. If there were more people on the network and more network activity, that number could go as high as 50,000 without any issues. When you start to put that into concept, you really can see that the centralized nature means that right now, 35% supply could basically get you all of the validator nodes. But once that transaction per second's up to like 10,000 TPS average instead of 3,500, and again, its max throughput comfortably is 50,000. So even at 10,000, all of a sudden 35% is not enough, and you would need a much larger supply. So at one point, you would need more than 50% of the supply just to steal the ability to validate all the transactions. You can't even double spend. You can't do nothing. It is a bulletproof ecosystem. The only flaw that it has is if they have to upgrade it, they can turn off the validator nodes and you can't send transactions until the network's upgraded. Okay, so let's not build DAOs and decentralized financial tools on Solana. Let's build them on Ethereum. Let's use Bitcoin as our sovereign wealth and our store of value. And let's build all of our NFTs, games, music clients, and utilities on Solana. There's no reason we can't do that. But
Well,
Hey,
no, actually,
I'm
so let's unpack that, because that's an interesting theory. However, the necessity of side chains that we have within Ethereum, right? So, and I'm not a maxi in any way. If anybody knows me here, I don't care. I'm a money maker, and I see opportunity, and I take it, right? But in terms of Solana's use case, to say let's build out all of the games on Solana, which where that is most certainly something that can be looked into. You also want to look at some of the side chains that are coming out on Ethereum that are going to help support it, that have a direct bridge that's 10 times better than Ethereum to Polygon. Ethereum to Polygon isn't complex by any means. It's just stupid with the gas fees at current. But when you start looking at some of the other chains like Optimism, Harmony One, you start looking at Arbitrum, you start looking at Avalanche, then you look at Phantasma, some of the other more game centric blockchains that are coming out, and see some of the projects that are branching out into those spaces, you're going to see that there's going to be some solid competition on the Ethereum, you would say, EVM compatible machines.
Yeah, but if you go to
and nodes.
Avalanche, whenever they had a lot of popularity and had taken volume and a bunch of new users in Wonderland before it rugged everyone, congratulations. Who didn't know that was going to happen?
Right.
Whenever that happened, even Avalanche had like fees that some people were reporting were like $16, which seemed crazy for Avalanche, right? Because
Now,
it's
was that
way cheaper in gas.
Avalanche, or was that the fees that were associated with the token itself on the
No,
Avalanche?
not in Wonderland. Oh, see, it was again, fuck if I know, right? But that's kind of the issue, right? Is that
Yeah.
with second layer chains like this, there's a lot of stuff that people have to learn and understand. And if you don't have the financial backing, I don't disagree with anything you said, but there's another argument here to why I also really like the idea of Solana's utility growing and the NFT ecosystem growing around Solana, is because it's really easy to onboard. That's why I like ETH
Hmm?
and Bitcoin as tools, because it's easy to onboard. If it was easy to onboard people to ETH and really easy and simple for them to bridge to one of these other networks, and there wasn't like multiple mainnets that they had to have in their MetaMask or 4 different wallets, and that they couldn't accidentally send Tether to the wrong wallet very simply because they don't understand really TRC20 and ERC20 and like all of that shit. You have to spend like 6 months or 3 months like learning that shit in order to participate in those ecosystems. With
Oh, I get it.
Solana,
No, no,
you need to buy it, send it to Phantom, and mint. You know what I'm
true. Yo,
saying?
no,
Like
no, yeah,
that's the
you're
big
spot on that.
breakdown for me. That's why
The
I
it,
chose Solana for ease of use and on-ramp accessibility versus OpenSea being like eyes and volume. When I did the math on the gas versus the sale volume, and I look at the secondary market of ETH, if you look at the secondary market of ETH, a lot of times it costs more money to list your NFT that you
mhm.
have. So, like, you have a project that did shitty, right? And it didn't go anywhere. Well, you might actually never be able to sell that NFT because if gas is 0.02 and the NFT is worth 0.01, you would lose money selling it. That is impossible on Solana. Even if you only made $20 or $5 or $10, you can't actually lose $100 selling something on the secondary market. And for me,
No,
I thought,
true.
okay, if I fuck people, like if I fuck up, right, and my project fails, I don't want to leave people in a position where they absolutely lost all the money they invested. And that was my third reason for choosing
Oh yeah,
Solana because I
no,
thought they could at
I'll be
least
the
get out.
first one. I'll be the first one to tell you right now that the way that Ethereum is set up right now, with ETH being a proof of work right now, that the Ponzi scheme that is the transactions that are all of these NFT projects that contribute to 30% of the network utilization at any given 3 hour period are nothing more than a way to create a deflationary aspect to Ethereum to drive more volume into the hands of Ethereum miners so that they could raise and pump the bags of all the Ethereum holders while they're making people now the shillers of junk projects that will have absolute no exit liquidity to be able to get out of those stupid JPEGs. And that's just that's the truth of it. And I'll have a debate with anybody that thinks that they can combat that, because you just look at the numbers on Etherscan and it tells you where the money is going in terms of burn ratio to the amount of recirculation into supply based off of
Well,
the miners.
yeah, because it's easy to see that they're front when you buy an NFT, you're forcing more GUI, and that is using London Fork versus if you do a slow transaction wallet to wallet, it's a normal transaction, it doesn't burn.
Hey
When the
guys.
whole point of London Fork, real quick, this is really important. The whole point of London Fork was people that are causing gas wars, that their percent that they're gas warring is burned. The conspiracy theory that miners are created NFTs to use London Fork to burn more, I think is pretty far fetched. But I definitely think there's fake volume and bad actors, but all I have to say, everybody's just look at duneanalytics.xyz.
Oh yeah.
Fact check everything that's said. Do analytics are everything. What people say is some things, but facts, analytics, everything. So if you want to look at volume, it's right there. And Jeanette, it's right back to you.
That's okay, thanks. I just wanted to refresh the room and let you know that you are here with Infiom, and we have these clubhouses every week, and we also have a salon every other week, and we have our newsletter, which gives you a lot of really helpful info. And I wanted also Kristen, who's on our board, to introduce herself and say hi.
Hello, thank you very much. I love this discussion, and Bitcoin is king. Thank you, Chris, so much. I love your project. I've been following it. Obviously, you see that. And I'm really curious, I'm a newbie. I have a friend that has a project, a collection, and I really wanted to dive in and help build a pre-sale page. And so, I went, obviously, I minted through your I am so NFT.art and Holoplex. For someone like me, and it's overwhelming to go to find a roadmap how to do this and where's the best to do it. And so my thoughts were to go to Holoplex and build a pre-sale page, try to create a community, and then go to Magic Eden. Or I'm hearing now maybe perhaps today I should wait. And is there another pre-sale page to build to go to OpenSea that if that opens
No,
in
see, that's
March?
what I tried to tell people is they like think there's going to be some massive shift to. I'm actually having a meeting with Magic Eden tonight with Yoon, their head of gaming development. They really like my ideas and my projects too. So I'm actually going to have a big wig meeting with Magic Eden tonight because I want to like really represent that site because people are forgetting one thing. You're not going to be able to mint your candy machines on OpenSea. You will only be able to use OpenSea as a secondary market, which is awesome because it's easier to onboard people who are familiar with that platform. I'm cool with that. Or for some of the people who've got money there to see how much like maybe faster and cheaper Solana is for them and perhaps they want to dabble a little bit. I'm good with all of that. But at the end of the day, people are forgetting you're not going to have launch pads on OpenSea, and you're not going to be able to add custom mint buttons to your website from OpenSea. So you're still going to be using the candy machines. You're still going to be using the Metaplex framework because that's the only thing that verifies NFTs. But guess what? When Solana NFTs hit OpenSea, you know what else you guys are going to see for the first time? NFTs that don't have copies of them everywhere because you can't. Because the metadata is verified from Arweave to the Candy Machine configuration file, and that configuration file is given to OpenSea. That verifies your NFTs and allows them to be listed on the secondary market. So if someone tries to list an NFT that doesn't share the token address from the Candy Machine that minted the NFT, it won't be verified, it won't be listable. It won't even be recognized by the Solana blockchain. Understand that. Solana won't even look at it as an NFT because it doesn't match the requirements. They built this thing for utility. They built this thing for NFTs. That's what they did. It's meant for this. And like in March, everyone's going to see what I saw last March. you know.
Hey man, have you noticed that the blockchain bridge wormhole was exploited for like $250 million?
That's why you shouldn't use bridges. Smart contracts fuck shit up. That's why Solidity and EVM compatibility is rough, dude. That's why you're gonna have to wait. Like people doing that impatiently don't understand technology. The reason we also chose Solana is because Rust can be boiled down to WASM, and WASM is how the substrate layers work. Well, Kusama can use Moonbeam or I'm sorry, Moon River, and Dot could use Moonbeam to move value from ETH to their network without using any smart contracts, which tells me that if we want to bridge Solana, again, because I have friends at the Metaplex Foundation who are building a bridge right now from Solana to Dot. So what that means is we would be able to bridge Solana to any other blockchain using the substrate networks. Even if we have to use EVM compatibility, we can do that without any smart contracts on that side. None on that side. Sure, there will be some on the Solana chain, but not on that side of the chain. And it's all coming. But again, if
That's
you don't know
impressive.
that, how are you supposed to fucking build toward that? You can go to Kusama's Twitter page right now and go back like 2 months of tweets and see where they showed moving $2.3 million of value with zero smart contracts and how they could pretty much do that with any value from Ethereum to the substrate networks. So why couldn't you do that from Solana to the substrate networks? Should be the same deal.
Right, that's 100% like golden information right there, bro.
Thanks so much. Plugin, did you have plugin.io? Do you have a question or comment?
No, I'm just like listening into what Bitcoin's saying. We're integrating Solana ourselves, so a lot of the things that he's saying are resonating with me personally. We added the Solana registration mechanism already, and we're already well into integrating the marketplace and building on top of the Metaplex code base. So yeah, no, all the things that Bitcoin is saying right now, I'm already kind of familiar with, but there is a few little nuggets there that I'm picking up as well. So yeah, just listening in and enjoying the conversation. Thank you.
The
Thank you.
Holoplex guys share their GitHub, and if it's not public, they'll give me a link to it if you want to look at any of the stuff they use for like caching the metadata and making their site so fast. Because if you've went to Holoplex, you know that you can spin up your own Metaplex in a few minutes with a wallet, right? So they've offered to allow us to use that code base because they are open source and they love to share. And so if you guys find any issues, just message me because me and you have talked before, and I can get you guys that access if you don't already have it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Like any resource that we can get hold of, then we're totally on board with getting access to that if we can. Every learning touch point for us is really really good, and yeah. So and I did actually reach out to on their Discord the other day, just like put a very passive comment on there, just for trying to just connect with people who are maybe the technical lead of the technical team, but that didn't get any response. So I've kind of got it in my mind that I will kind of like approach that in a way that's probably a little bit more proactive. But yeah, no, like you say, we've spoke about some things already. I think you kind of know where we're going with what we're doing, and we
Yeah, I'm
know of
curious if you
Magic.
have full-time Rust devs. Do you have full-time Rust devs?
No, we've just basically been lifting and working with the Metaplex code base and just like using that as a template for now, just as we're
Right, full
moving.
stack
So
devs.
yeah, we're definitely capable of writing contracts if push comes to a shove. Um, but we're just trying to do it in a like a minimal viable product sort of vertical first, and then building out from that. Like we're just about to hire a DevOps engineer, and then the sort of the next person on the list would be probably somebody who can write contracts and on Rust. And like you say, you're talking about the WebAssembly stuff, which I've been looking at that and just understanding how that works across the different chains, and that's become like one area where we're like, okay, this is pretty bloody cool. Like, and you've just mentioned that aspect as well, because I've built on LLVM before. I was a C++ engineer, and so I know where that's going, and I know how the performance gains that you get there and such. So, well, yeah, I'm just going to keep absorbing the things that you're saying, dude, because it's all super valuable. And yeah, it's interesting that you're working with the Magic Eden team. I would love it if you wanted to
Fucking
spend some time.
surprise to me, bro. Listen, I didn't apply for that. They just really like what we're doing, and they think that there's some concepts and ideas here that could really benefit the Solana ecosystem from like a marketing standpoint and understanding interoperability. And again, it was all accident. I didn't choose any
Yeah.
of this. It's just possible. And if it's possible and the people around me can make it work, then I'm going to do it.
Well,
Yeah, I think, well, we're in the same position. We're in the same boat. So obviously, as a marketplace solution that's like adopting Solana from the offset, those sorts of things are like very interesting to us as well. So yeah, I would love to get down and have a conversation with you about these types of things, and see if there's any alignment and how we can work something out, and maybe move all of this tech forward as well. I'd be well up for that conversation. So yeah, just if you want to keep that in mind, and I can offer you a free account on and give you some NFT benefits as well. There, maybe a VIP, for example, to kind of entice you in.
Well, what I would use
you know,
is I would just want beta access to your stuff so I could make videos showing people how it all worked. Because if you're contributing to the Solana ecosystem, I just need access to stuff that lets me show people how it works. I don't need
you
payment.
can
You know what I
you
mean?
can
I just
yeah.
need to show people what's going on.
I'd like to do that so that you can get an idea of what it is that those things do. But right now, you can go to our platform and you can sign in with the Solana wallet, and you can register with the Solana wallet for free today. It's already there. The marketplace itself is just under 2 weeks away, as my estimation on that. And so that will just get rolled out, and then we'll send everybody information about the fact that the marketplace system is going to be there. But you can just imagine that it's just like Instagram or Twitter. The only difference is you have an NFT post type, and so you upload your asset, you set your title, your description, you set your price, and you'll set how many you want to be able to mint, and you press go, and that's it. And then all the people who are following you get notified, and you can build up a following and a social thing around your NFTs right there and then inside your newsfeed. That's the premise of what it is that we're building. We've also got an app store as well, so things like play to earn games, badge unlocking, which are actually NFTs themselves that you can sell on the secondary marketplace, and et cetera, et cetera. It's all like an ecosystem around the ideas of having fun with NFTs as being like the core product around which everybody's
Hey, let's
trading.
do a wave call later and make sure you're in my Discord, because actually I would like to have a platform where we could aggregate all the music and gaming project data on Solana to one specific tab in one specific place. And then with the auction house tools, we can actually use that same marketplace to accept all the in-game currencies so that
Mhm.
people who participate from those ecosystems can use the tokens that they earn in those ecosystems. And that's also very interesting to me because you can even set it up to where you can trade NFTs for NFTs. So one thing
Yeah,
we want to do, and I'll get off this after this because I know there's more shit to talk about. But one thing we want to do is like we print our NFTs and there's a number zero PNG in there. Well, I'm a little anal, as you guys know. I don't like the zero PNG. I hate it. So what I want to do is I want to start making a bounty for any mints where there will be a a reward that you can come collect from a website, but you can only collect it if you minted number zero.
mm,
You see
okay.
what I'm saying? That like that
Yeah,
kind of shit. And like that adds gamification even to the minting process. And you don't have to
absolutely.
like commit to anything crazy. And you still get to deliver a reward. It's purely random. There's no security involved. You know what I mean? So yeah, go ahead and join the Discord and let's talk
I'm
about this
already
a
in
little
your
bit.
Discord.
All right,
I'm already
cool,
in your
cool.
Discord, so I use the same name, plugin.io. You'll see me in there.
Awesome. Sorry, Jeanette.
Oh, it's okay. I just wanted to sort of wrap things up and say that you are here in the Infiom network, and this is our Create Unicorns with NFTs, DeFi, and DAOs Clubhouse. This is every week at 1:30 Pacific time. We also have Ask Me Anything about NFT, DeFi's, DAOs, Web 3.0, Metaverse, and all that stuff on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. PST. And we every other week we have a salon on Zoom where we introduce some new technologists and we have them in our clubhouse afterwards. I want to thank everybody so much for being here. And as we leave, I want to suggest that you go to the link at the top, infiom.com. Just hit that website, put your web address in there, your email address, and you'll be on our mailing list to get our free clubhouse invitations and our newsletter and access to amazing people like the folks we have here in our panel today. And just as we part, King, what event are you going to be at next? Oh, I
Oh,
think
sorry,
okay.
sorry. I had to grab my phone. So we're going to send some people probably to East Denver, even though we won't be there, to represent RAF and on behalf of Poker House as well. But I think I'm going to get the Hacker House schedule and I'll post it in Discord because I'm going to make a very conservative effort to go, not conservative, sorry, an extra effort to, oh, sorry, my little one, she's whiny as hell today. Here you go, baby.
It happens.
She to basically get as much alpha moving forward with all of these projects so that we kind of know where to take ours. I found such a great advantage the first time, and again, I recommend everyone does it. ETH Denver is the 15th. So if any of you guys are near Colorado, you should definitely be at ETH Denver, and maybe you'll, I don't know, Good Guy Biker, he might go, I'm not sure. But I think that I think everyone should go. Even if you're not like the biggest ETH maxi or you're kind of new to the tech, the kind of information you can get from people in real life who are, they're vibing, they're buzzing, they're feeling good. They're going to be honest. They're going to tell you their ambitions and their plans. And whenever you meet someone in real life, it is way easier to read them. Like, I knew there was like one person who was full of shit. You know what I mean? And the rest of them, you could just feel it. Like, they were legit. So, again, thank you for the space, Jeanette. We love you very much.
Thank you so much, and we're going to peace out and see you next time. Thanks again.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. See ya.